Macron could still fix this problem tomorrow if he wanted to. But the French don't care. They could put police officers and gendarmes on the beaches of France.
They've got the drones. We're paying them millions of pounds a year to do that.
They're not doing it seriously. They're not arresting people. They could put buoys in the English Channel, like we're doing, some of our partners are doing elsewhere in the world, like the Texans are doing on the Rio Grande. They could turn back the boats in shallow waters, like the Belgians do for us, which has prevented almost all small boats leaving from Belgian beaches. The French could stop this tomorrow. They don't want to, and the reason for that is they're punishing us because of Brexit.
Well, imagine the shock for the Tory leadership favourite when he finds out a study by Durham University has found the primary factor in the skyrocketing number of small boat crossings is the former Conservative government's oven-ready Brexit deal, a government Jenrick was a part of. According to the report, it was the then Conservative government's decision to leave the EU without a returns agreement in place, which has led to the skyrocketing number of dangerous small boat crossings. Here are some of the report's key findings. The primary factor behind small boat crossings is the UK's lacking a returns agreement with the EU. The government never assessed the impact of the consequences for leaving the EU without a returns agreement to replace the Dublin regulation and was caught by surprise. The UK did not need to leave this agreement in leaving the EU. Non-EU members have returns agreements with the EU. The lack of a returns agreement fueled an increase in crossings. The report's findings chime with this comment from former Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron.
I'm someone who says we have a problem with illegal migration. You cannot have a situation where boat after boat crosses the Channel, leaving a perfectly safe country, France, and coming to another perfectly safe country, Britain. You just can't have that. And so you have to be creative and inventive, and that's what the Rwanda policy is.
And hand on heart, if this had come up when you were PM, would you have gone for this policy?
Well, we'd had a totally different situation because we had a situation where you could return people directly to France. Now, I'd love that situation to be the case again. That's the most sensible thing. People land on a beach in Kent, you take them straight back to France, you therefore break the model of the people smugglers.
So shouldn't you be trying to get that?
Well, that's not available at the moment. It's simply not possible
because of Brexit?
Well, because of the situation we're in.
And UK news channels are finally catching on.
There are also fairly obvious glaring diplomatic hurdles, and that is, it's very hard to send people back to safe third countries if you don't have any agreements to do so. Now, once upon a time, when we were in the EU, we had operated under something called the Dublin regulations, which allowed us to send asylum seekers back, in theory, to the place where they had first arrived and claimed asylum. Those fell away upon Brexit, and we haven't really replaced them. We have half a dozen or so agreements in place.
And on the issue of immigration generally, and contrary to what Mr. Jenrick would have us all believe, we do in fact have control of our borders. The vast majority who come to this country are allowed in after meeting an extremely high visa threshold. We invite many of them in to fill gaps in our health and care sectors, which are experiencing desperate staff shortages. The simple fact is immigration is economically beneficial, both as a driver of economic recovery and a vital source of support for our public services.